Okay, let's pretend it's bright and early, 6:30 in the morning. Just for fun, let's make that a Monday morning. You're getting ready to start your week. You walk down to the kitchen, and there are ants everywhere. Thousands, perhaps millions of them covering your counter. Great way to start a week, huh? Well, you know what? It's not as much of a problem as you think. First of all, let's take care of the ants that we see. Many people will go under the kitchen counter, pull out a red can, and start spraying. That's where you're going to eat. That's where your children are going to hang out. That's poison. Don't do that. Make instead a good window cleaner. What you need is about a pint of water. Add to that just about a tablespoon or so of household ammonia. Pour that into a nice little spray bottle that you can get at the 99-cent store or somewhere like that. And we are good to go. Put that in the bottle, put the top back on, and spray the counters. Not only are you killing the ants that you see without putting a poison residue down, you're also cleaning your counters at the same time. It's quick, it's easy, it works, but there's a bigger problem. Those ants that came into your house are still lurking out there somewhere in your garden. So we want to take care of them as well. There is a real problem in this country right now with an ant called an Argentinian ant or an Argentine ant. They came up in a load of bananas many, many years ago, and all of the ants across the entire country are absolutely identical genetically. And that causes a problem because when one bunch of ants runs into another bunch of ants, they would typically fight and one would take over and the others would go away. Well, these ants are all the same, so they just kiss and make new nests. One nest can have up to 100 queens, and as long as there's one queen left, you're going to continue to have a problem. So what we want to do is take advantage of the biology of the ants. Ants, when they see each other, they swap food. They actually kiss the other ants, and they give them a little bite of food. So we want to put out some food that they do not know is poison, but it will be. It's a very mild poison. They'll take it back to the nest and feed it to all their millions of friends, and they will get all, well, very ill, and then they'll die. What we're going to do is take 9 teaspoons of sweet corn syrup, 9 teaspoons corn syrup, and then 1 teaspoon of either boric acid, you can get it in the eye care aisle, or they sell it as a roach powder at the grocery store, 1 teaspoon of boric acid or borax. What you do is mix the corn syrup in with the active ingredient, which will be the borax or the boric acid, and don't put more than that 1 teaspoon. You think, well, if 1 teaspoon of that boric acid works well, maybe 2 teaspoons will get rid of them quicker. No, then the ants will know that it's there and they won't go near it. You want to get it nice and mixed in. You might even put it in the microwave for 10 or 20 seconds and allow it to really work its way into that corn syrup. And then what you do is take one of those empty butter dishes that my dad always used to save up in the cupboard thinking, someday we're going to have a picnic and we're going to need those. Take one and take a pencil and stick little holes along the bottom, just north, south, east, and west. That's a place for the ants to crawl in. Inside, put a dollop about the size of a quarter, and then put the top back on. Place this in a shady spot. If you put it in the sun, that corn syrup is going to crystallize and harden very quickly. Out of the sun, but where you've seen some ants, they will crawl in there, drink it, take it back to the nest, and ultimately it will wipe out an entire nest. You should keep these out all the time because the ants can be a problem year-round. Or you can do a dry powder as well to put in your pantry. Same thing, 9 teaspoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of the active ingredient. And again, it can be either borax or it can be boric acid. So you mix those together into one thing, and then remember, you get some of those spice jars that have the larger than normal holes in the top, maybe for putting out some chili flakes or things like that. So you want one with the large holes. Put your dry mixture into this and then lay it on its side. The ants will crawl in, they'll take the bait, again, back to the nest, and it will kill everybody. Now, if you don't want the ants to come in your house at all, we'll deal with barriers. In days of old when knights were bold, they put a moat around the big castle that would keep out all the bad guys. Simple, a little bit hard to build these days, but the same idea works in keeping little critters out of your house as well. Ants will come in through the tiniest hole, but if you know the hole they most like to come in, we can place a barrier that will keep them from coming through that place. Back when the ocean floor was still very young and new, and still today, there were tiny little one-celled creatures called diatoms. Well, they live a life and die very quickly, and there are so many millions and millions and millions of them that as they die, they actually make a whole layer on the ocean floor. That ocean floor layer has been harvested. It's called diatomaceous earth. Tiny little diatoms into a big box of powder-like ingredients. What we want to do is put this down as a little tiny barrier. And let me tell you how it works. To us, it feels like talcum powder. But to an ant, it's like walking on razor blades. As they walk across it, it will actually cut into the joints of their ectoskeleton. And once that joint is cut, all their moisture flows out, they desiccate, and they dry up and die. The same practice will work if you were to use boric acid in a little line. The ants will not cross it. Same with baby powder. Same theory too. It's like walking on razor blades for them. Any kind of household cleanser that you have, just make a little line where the ants come in and they will not cross it. You may have to make the line a little bit longer in areas where they're coming in for other reasons. Now, as far as household items, cinnamon. They will also not cross a line of cinnamon. This has its benefits because it smells a little bit better than some of those other items. Or, if you have a very small place, how about just a little bit of toothpaste? They won't cross that line either. Same is true with a mentholated rub. They will not cross a line of that either. Just spread it on there. Obviously, you want to put this in a place where you're not going to damage any surfaces. And these fragrances keep ants from coming in as well. This is eucalyptus oil. You can actually put a little bit of this into a bottle with water and spray it on your counters and they won't cross it. The same is true with something that comes out of Australia called tea tree. It's the oil from a melaleuca tree. And if you were to put a little line of tea tree oil across, that will actually kill the ants if they go anywhere near it. It also works very, very well for head lice, but that's a different day. And if you want to go out to the nest and actually do some things to kill the ants that are in that nest, here's an old-fashioned idea my grandma used to do. She would sprinkle cornmeal or corn starch, either one will work, all around the outside of the nest. The ants come up and eat it, and they actually, their stomachs expand to the point where they blow up and die. Or you could sprinkle a little bit of chili down into the nest. That will make the nest uninhabitable. They don't like living around chili any more than you would, and so they leave. Now, here's two ideas you can use with boiling water. Obviously, if you pour boiling water down in there, there's going to be a lot of ants yelling ow, and they will either leave or die. You can make this even stronger and make the nest uninhabitable by adding something to that boiling water. Tea tree oil would work, eucalyptus oil would work, or you could boil a couple of habanero peppers, the hottest peppers you can find, and pour that down into the nest. Not only will it kill or remove the ants that are there, but it makes future generations a lot less likely to move into that nest. They'll probably find another nest, and then we'll go after that one as well.